Welcome to our first official quick install guide. We're going to have a nice little paper pamphlet we're going to be releasing to really simplify the instructions, and we're going to do the same thing with videos. Now behind me here, we got the Command Center 2 fuel system we're going to do on this Camaro. We got the Killshot 2 we're going to do, the new HD Gen 3 handheld, and our wiring harness. So we're going to run through just the meat and potatoes in this video of what you really need to do to install it. We'll have the fuel system in its own separate video that I think I'll have Bradley do actually. But yeah, this will be the easiest install. And because, you know, the last few installs, it's been a whole lot going on in there. We want to show you guys really, truly how easy it is to put this stuff on just by checking every box up into startup, and then we're going to go for a drive. So hang in here with me. So we did the intro. Now it's time to get the work done. Let me tell you about what we got on this old car right here. 1973 Camaro, second gen, beautiful piece of equipment here. We got a big block 454 in it with a carburetor and an HEI. Obviously it's set out in the sun a little bit, you know, no hood, more power as it goes. But this thing right here has a problem. That thing actually has a mechanical problem internally. This doesn't supply enough fuel. The vacuum secondaries are damaged, and this doesn't advance the timing right. I put it on the dyno. We made 158 horsepower, I think, on a big block, which is staggering. It ran fantastic. It drives down the road pretty good, but it's just not what we want out of this particular build. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit the fast forward button on this and start taking a bunch of stuff off and get to this install and make it fire up. So let's do it. Oh my gosh. So we're taking a bunch of stuff apart here, which is fun, but you got to be a little careful. We went ahead and we didn't film it because I had to borrow the cameraman, thanks again Reed, to bump the car around a little bit to get it to top dead center. So I left the distributor in. It's loose, sitting there chilling, but it's kind of pointing. And if you notice, that's about a tooth off. It's pointing way over here on this back cylinder, and it should be kind of pointing a little more up here. We'll correct that when we reinstall the new distributor. And we got it bumped over. It's sitting at about 12 degrees before top dead center currently. So this is the part. Oh, also, we already got the adapter on. That's that special, maybe $30-something thing from the local auto parts store. But that's just what we're using here. But yeah, let's go ahead and put a distributor in, bolt down a throttle body. Let's get some fuel to it. Let's wire a few things. We'll install a coolant temp sensor right here. And I think it's a 5/16, we'll see here very shortly, and carry on with this adventure. I'm very excited because this ain't a whole lot of work. I've got maybe an hour in this so far since I started, and it's, you know, I spent more time trying to figure out where I put my glasses than where I put my wrenches. So let's get to it. All right, so we've made it back under the hood. When you're installing these things, you got two options. Well, actually, you get a lot more options than this too, but these are the two distributors that we're using today. We got this 2-wire magnetic right here. This is the one I've actually recently tested it. It's a fantastic unit. This right here is a Hall effect. So this will plug right into the wiring harness, no problem. This right here, if you're going to use, you could use a weather pack connector that has it kind of breaks out like a pigtail. Switch 12 volt, ground, and signal. When you're using this in the handheld, you're going to be setting it as CDI because it's a square 12 volt wave. Not a big deal. You don't need to lock it out. It's all good, but use it for sequential, use it for throttle body, and a bunch of other applications. You can also use this with a CDI box as well if you're going that route, but I like these a lot. I like these a lot too. So when you're using this, it's going to be connected to your TAC in wire, the gray wire. That's where the signal is going to come from, and it's going to be marked to CDI because it has the same waveform as a CDI. You'll get good RPMs out of it, no worries. Magnetic, you have to mechanically lock it out if you're using it for timing control. If you're not using it with timing control, you can put it in there, use it with an ignition box. You can set up all the parameters, weights and springs and things. We already got this one locked out because we're putting it in this car. I just want to go over this right quick with you guys. So let's pull this thing out and put a distributor in. There we go. Ooh, I forgot my gasket. Let's get to this. All right, so I pulled the old distributor out. We're at 12-ish degrees before top dead center. Let's drop this distributor in and kind of line some stuff up. I'll walk you through it real quick. It's a real easy process. So follow me under the hood. And yes, I know I don't have a fender cover, but I have a very soft shirt on. Maybe we should sell fender covers. Actually, let's vote on that. Somebody post a comment. Should we do that or not? Do you guys want to see Aces fender covers in the future? There we go. We can see it's got none of the weights and springs in it. It's locked out real nice. Nothing too crazy. See right there, it's in the tiny hole, and then we got the other hole over here where the bushings and things go for how much advance you can do. So these things, you can put them in any direction as long as you pick your favorite hole and make it number one. I like the Aces thing pointing forward. I got a little Fibre gasket right here. Let's see how good my oil pump is lined up. I didn't, oops. Make sure to edit that out. I banged the distributor to the hood. There we go. Nice and done. So somewhere around here there's an oil shaft. All right, that's that. So we were pointing a little bit too far that direction. And if you don't have a big long screwdriver, you can do it like this. You pick it up, turn it to the next thing, and you just kind of move it around using the end of the distributor. I like to get everything kind of the way I like. So I'll rotate it like 180 around, and then I'll go back this direction. Look at that. Bang, right where I want it. And we got this right here, the plug itself. Don't do that, that actually hurts a little bit. But we got the wire for this. See, if I put it here, I got the hold down that it may interfere with depending on how I'm doing this. I don't really want that. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put it on the other side here, which is super not a big deal, but at least it gives me the authority to move it around a little bit. So we're pointing at number one. We'll pick our number one here. This thing right here is keyed, so we'll just rotate it around. Oh, it's locking in. So, all right, there we go. There's that. I like to try to do that, but I'll get on the other side of the car, and I'm going to line this one up, and then I'm going to put this hold down on here, right there. You know, it's funny. This isn't chrome. It's robbing me of horsepower straight away. Ah, rookie mistake I made. I'm glad you guys caught it. I didn't. Check this out. Wait till I get kind of this cinched down just a smidge. I didn't line these up with these. So those have to line up there. Otherwise, it's just not going to hold it down on there. All right, cool. Well, let me get her over here and line that up. And I'll kind of snug down the distributor. I couldn't really see it from the other side, but I like to just kind of eyeball it. All right, pretty close. Sensor is looking at the paddle wheel pretty good, so we're good. I like to try to center up the paddle wheel and make sure this all makes sense. So I can go ahead and snug that up. We got to adjust it anyways a little bit later. Not a biggie. So we're pretty close. And with these, yeah, it'll start up out of time a little bit, but not really as bad as you'd think. So let's get this just a little bit snug. All right, yeah, a little bit of that right there. Just enough not to ruin the finish. I got my screwdriver. I got to get this stuff away from the intake so I don't drop my favorite screwdriver down the intake and have to go fishing. That's where I store my 10mm sockets. Literally at this point, as I've said the word literally so many times today, we got a few extra vacuum hoses, but we can go ahead and throw our throttle body on. Now these adapters, they can be kind of interesting sometimes because those bolts are always wobbly until you really get them snugged down. But they're captive inside. See this hex that's indented? They're the same thing on the other side because they can go from one direction to the other. Not a massive deal. Just don't get overzealous and drop a nut down the intake, because then, well, your afternoon gets pretty long. Unless you're lucky. Let me get a throttle body. Anyways, so these are the two gaskets I wanted to show you. This is the one that comes with the adapter kit. It is a bit thicker. It's kind of a nice thing. Ours has a lot better surface as it goes in these two little cutouts. If you're using this on a dual plane intake, these little cutouts help clear where the holes for the IAC and the map sensor are. So that's kind of their function, so it doesn't block as much air. So we're going to use this one just because of that, even though we don't really need it. But if you look right here, there's a little port right down here. See, this is your boost reference port, and this is where you plug the thing off if you're using it on top of a blower. So for a draw-through boosted application, you put this in, red Loctite it, stake it, however you're doing it. But for a blow-through or an NA application, you leave this plug out. So now we throw a gasket on, put this on, throw some nuts on there, and start plugging stuff in. Yay! This thing is hopefully going to make a lot more than the 158 horsepower it made yesterday. Let's see here. I got to get these things up a little bit. Now, these bolts that come with it don't really offer a whole lot of room. So we have to do the best we can on this. Yeah. Oh, I think when I pull them in, they'll be just fine. If we was doing this to aviation standards, you need like 3 threads protruding through the fastener to be appropriate, but this car will fly, just ain't got no wings. I think the only thing we're really going to have to contend with at any point is the throttle linkage, because it's got this this style right here. I just need to get a bracket for it. Let's see. The tricky things we have to do. Oh, look at that. I dropped it. You want to hand me that? Not that. The green thing. And a screwdriver. That. That is comedy gold.
Hand me that. That thing.
No, the other thing. Yeah, these bolts are a little on the short side. So if you're using these, try to find a little bit longer bolt. Yeah. These work fine, but if we're going to put a throttle linkage on this, I'll have to take it back off and put slightly longer bolts. I use a little screwdriver like that. Hold it up into place if you can. All right, there. Isn't that actually, so far that's the most challenging thing we've had to do today. Other than, I don't know, we had lunch. That's that. And it's getting hot in this garage. Come on. Come on. Good job. So we'll snug these things down. We're looking good. We may start it up without the linkage for now, because I want to actually use one of our linkages. So no Hollywood magic. I'm just being square with you. All right, so we're back. We got the throttle body mounted down. The only thing you guys missed was I tightened them up with a wrench. But, you know, it's not a big deal, right? The next thing we're going to do is a coolant temp sensor, but I wanted to show you real quick with my damaged air cleaner. This was because of the old carburetor on there. Somebody just kind of hacked at it a little bit, but I'll show you on this side right here, because I'm replacing this. I've already got it on order, but this is a Dropbase Air Cleaner. That way my air filter ain't jamming into the hood real hard. But if I was to flip this back and forth here, that's my finger hitting it. Wait. The linkage clears, so nothing funny's happening there. So I'll get a new one of these for this car because it's going to look cool. We're going to get the lowest profile thing we can get. I might even get one even deeper than this if I can. But yeah, Dropbase Air Cleaner on there, no problem. Let's make a whole separate video about this. Here you go. Have one of these. Thanks. Anyways, let's get this coolant temp sensor out. I do have a bit of a drain pan. I could take this line off right here. There we go. See, that's why I skipped leg day, so I can do this. Drink pan. Little MPT plug and this old cast intake. I do want to put a different intake on this car eventually, but I think what I might do is put a big tunnel ram on here and a multi-port next, and then get a different hood because I don't want to damage the factory hood. I'll get like a fiberglass one with a big cutout or a scoop or something cool. And same size. This already's got a little bit of sealant on there. Sometimes I like to put Teflon on there, but this already has some on there. So we'll get this coolant temp sensor lined up. It's an amazing thing about sometimes on these fittings is that sometimes they just don't line up at all. Arr, fight it. Fight the good. I just had a terrible angle. Yeah, totally at the wrong angle. You can't trust a flat surface on these apparently. But yeah, so that's this little MPT plug we pulled out of there. Same size as this. And we'll, at least we stopped the coolant leak. But I'm going to get a wrench and tighten this up and meet up with me here in a second. We'll talk about plug wires and where I'm going to put the ECU next. So anyways, we got our coolant temp sensor in. Check it out right here. It's, I got my metric standard wrench of mini 16ths, because I didn't bring a normal wrench for that. Biggest I got's like a 16 in the box, and that's a little bit bigger than that. So anyways, we got these ORB to 6AN fittings right here. I'm using one of these plugs and one of these barbed fittings from the style of fuel system I'm using. I wanted to, on purpose, keep it very simple. Some people already have rubber hoses, you know, and I hadn't had one of these fittings laying around. I think I paid $3, $4 for it off the internet. We're going to start, I think we're going to start including these in the throttle bodies for people using a deadhead system like I'm going to be, because I'm using the fuel command center, which is going to go straight to the throttle body with no return from the throttle body. The return's done down at the surge tank. So I'll snag these things out of here. I'm going to run my fuel on the front side. I'm going to put the plug in back here. Nothing crazy. Just make sure the O-ring's on here. These are -6AN ORB fittings, O-ring Boss. Don't use MPT fittings. They're tapered. They will destroy this and crack it. And then, well, it's kind of hard to get this thing replaced. You have to warranty it, or we can sell you one. It's just don't do that. Use the right fittings. If you have any questions, you watch the video, you want to know more about it, holler at us. We'll explain it in more thorough detail if needed. So let me get these things out of here, and we'll put those other ones in. Oh, yes, and by the way, if you have one available, see, same fitting. Use an aluminum version of this. I didn't bring mine today because we're just doing this install using the tooling and ideas that a lot of people are going to have in their garage. And they're not going to have a $70 aluminum wrench. If you do, use that. Don't use it like this. Oh, it's a Craftsman. That's cool. This is old school too. Nothing crazy. Try not to disturb the surface. If you're worried about disturbing the surface, you can put a bit of painter's tape on here, on these right here, and it helps protect the anodized coating on your aluminum fitting. Not too many duggas there, I tell you. So, let's see here. Perfect. Didn't scratch nothing, didn't dent nothing. Didn't even cut myself. This is just a plug, nothing crazy. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Not even putting that much on there because the O-rings do a good job of not allowing it to vibrate out too hard. And we're set up in a deadhead configuration. So next we got to get some fuel running from our command center over here. The command center video, we're doing it kind of on its own separate thing. We're going to make Bradley do it because he has a second gen running the command center. He knows all the ins and outs on this particular car, so I'll let him do it. And he's also very entertaining. So anyways, what was next? Oh, wiring. Let's do that. So now let's do some plug wires. Now, some people are really cool and they got the tattoo of the firing order on their arm. Now, I thought about doing that when I was a teenager as well, but work got in the way. And tattoos are expensive. Let's see. Oh, anyways, spark plug wires. So either you got it memorized, you got it tattooed, or you just look on the factory intake and you see it right here, firing order, or you can Google it. But we got 18436572. And we know number 1's right here. It's where we lined up. That's where we chose it to be. So that's 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. So number 1 right there. Let's find our number 1 spark plug wire, which is this one. Let's find our number 2, because that's going to be right here, wherever that one is. And that's going to be, this one's number 3. Number 2's over there. So 1, 8, 4, 3. I don't want to make it look ugly like that. I'll take it right across the bridge. That's number 3. And then we got number 5. Let's see here. Number 5. 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5. So this one's number 5. Then we got 7, which is, oh, that's an ugly wire. So yeah, we're definitely going to come back and do wires on this thing. Because they are, this one's 2 miles long. And the reason they did that is so it clears the steering shaft. I'm going to have to go snag up a couple zip ties and keep these things off the headers. But yeah, we can do better than this right here. But if you're doing it in your garage and you already got a good set of plug wires on there, or you got what I got going on, you want to make them work, just make sure to put them in a good spot, zip tie them out of the way, steering shaft, headers, anything weird back here. Like this, see this cable, throttle cable comes up and over and is silly. I don't like that. Let's go to the other side and I'll attach those. All right, who remembers the firing order? Because we need to find number 2, which is actually touching the upper control arm on this particular rig. Way down there, goodness. Yeah, we want this right back here. Look at this. Look at all this. I gotta get this untangled first. I can't live like this. And also, what the devil is this? Okay. So we got some wiring maintenance, but we're hooking it up to run right now, even though the wires seem to be getting into my soul a little bit, but that's okay. We're actually going to do a big wiring tuck on this because we are going to use this at shows, and I think it just needs to look cool. Let's see. We'll get rid of this little guy. What's this about? There we go. This one right here. So this is going to be, this one's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8. We got number 2 in my hand, which is a long one right here. So we'll go ahead and get that sorted out and untangled from everything. Get it up and over here. There we go. I'm a big fan of getting them around the back of the valve covers because I think it's cool to kind of hide some wires. That's the, here at Aces, the only thing we actually hide is our spark plug wires. So let's see, number 2 is over here. We know that from previous histories, and you can see it kind of lays there like it's been there before. And we got number 4. That's going to be in the 1, 2, say 1, 8, 4, 3. So number 4 is right here, and that's a annoyingly short wire. So there's not a lot I can do with that, but you know, we'll deal with that when we have to deal with that. This one right here is number 6. I'm on purpose looking at this. So 6 right here. 1, 8. 8 right here. So 8 is up and under some stuff. And I could actually probably get one of the other spark plug wires. That's not even the same boot. That's interesting. Anyways, there we go. We got that. So this makes a little bit of a wiring mess, but we'll have to work with what we got today. That's okay. So I need to go find a coil wire. Actually, that's like an HEI style that has a retainer on top. That's kind of cool. So we'll find up a coil wire. I think I want to put the coil over there. I could put it back here, but it'd be like too tight. We'll have to see where the wiring harness lays out at. Not a massive deal. So I'm going to go get that out the bag real quick. I'm actually going to hook this back up. This is for the transmission. Interesting. That explains why it shifted like a 20-pound sledgehammer. Gotcha. Man, I love working on cars. All right, so we got a wiring harness. Look at this thing. If you're not a master tech or you've never done this before, super neat thing. We put labels on the wires. Positive, negative, run them off to the battery. This runs to the fuel pump. This is your key switch 12-volt source. Not a biggie. I have to get my cutters and snip these zip ties off. We got fuses. I always like to do this thing where I pop the cap and verify they're in there. It's just one of those habits. I like to do it. We got the 30 and we got the 20. We're looking good there. We got 2 relays. They're there. They're attached. We got the additional wiring harness. I don't think I need any additional wires for this because I'm not running a CDI ignition. I'm not running an HEI. I'm not running any of the peripherals. We got a mechanical fan. Weirdly enough, no shroud. I probably ought to do something about that. And then we got the CAN cable. We got the VR that's going to the distributor. And we got the coil connector. So I know these things are going to be pretty close. This will end up on the firewall. I hate to drill a hole in a car, but it is what it is. Throttle body, fuel pressure sensor. Now, this being a dual purpose harness, this will work for the old Killshot and the new Killshot too, because we already have a fuel pressure sensor inside the throttle body, but if you got one external and you're not using that because of one reason or the other, then this will work. So we made sure to do that just so we can cover more range. And we got the O2 sensor right here. And let's see, coolant temp sensor, the extra long one, because you don't know how your harness is going to lay out until you kind of lay it out. We're going to kind of keep it on the passenger side of the car a whole lot because I'm doing my guy a favor later. This thing right here is going to flip this direction and be inside of the car. So we're going to have about this much of it right here where that little bit of tape is, thereabouts, sticking outside of the firewall, and this will be laying on the engine. The rest of this is going to be going off to the battery here, and then this is going to be inside the car in the footwell up behind the dash where the ECU is going to be going. So that's the future adaptation. To do that, I got to remove a few things and then drill a pretty good sized hole. Put the grommet in and then run the harness in. Not a massive deal, but that's not what we're doing in this video today. We're just putting it on like you would on a weekend because this is still day 1 of the shoot. Let's plug some stuff in. Let's check this out. All right. Let's see. Instant badness, crazy wiring everywhere. No, it's not really that bad. So we got this. We'll start at the throttle body like I like to do. Clicked in. I need to figure out what we're doing with this, which is going to run under. So back out we go. And then all these are going to go underneath these plug wires. Now, a lot of times on aftermarket fuel injection, you want to try to stay away from the plug wires as much as possible. Or if you're going to go cross plug wires, run them at a 90 to it, not with them. That way it mitigates any kind of like huge, that electromagnetic field stuff, the EMI, RFI stuff. We don't have any kind of issue with that. It took me a lot to even get any kind of a skip out of the handheld when I was doing the initial testing on that. But even then, it's barely anything. So we got that. This is going to have to go kind of down and through a little bit. Let's see if I get my fingers in there. There we go. We got that. Retaining tab down. Let me scooch this out the way so I can plug it in. Wiggle it around. Click. Good to go. It's not hitting nothing, not grinding on nothing. This isn't even hitting it there, even though later I'm going to have to kind of get a zip tie, but still, even then, it's just barely touch. Actually, if I do it, yeah. No, it'll be fine. I gotta kind of put these together. They were just, these were bad. We put them on, yeah, so whatever. So anyways, these I'm going to have to take the extra slack up after I get everything laid out here appropriately. Trans dipstick. That's good. We got this. You can see the coil is going to have to go up here somewhere. And then we got this harness. As I work it around and through to figure out exactly how I want to put it, which I think it's going to go down underneath this bit right here and come out here and wind up in the ECU. Probably right here. It's a shame to drill a hole in this brand new fender, but it's our car. That's what we're going to do. Let me get some cutters and kind of lay it out a little bit better, and then we'll come right back to it. Welcome back to the program, everybody. So I've got a screwdriver because I had to tighten up a little fuel line. We're doing like 3 things at the same time here, but I wanted to just give you a brief of where we're at and what direction we're going, really. We got the throttle body on. It's tightened up. We put the plug and the fitting in the throttle body for the style of fuel thing we're doing here. We got the distributor in very close to where we need it to be. We got the plug wires on. I have to mount the coil, which I'm going to do on the firewall. I'm going to mount the ECU over here on the fender. We've got to pop a couple holes in it, not a big deal. And we got the fuel command center. It's going to go in this general location. Now, we've hooked this thing up now because we are doing a longer install video about this, so I've just got some lines running over here. But you know, we're going to run this return to this jug right here to make sure we're flushing out the system before we even start up the throttle body. So we're going to prime this canister with the key, you know, just sit there and crank it, let the mechanical pump do its job until we start getting fuel in the jug, and inspect it for any kind of contamination before we hook up the rest of the fuel system to the car. But honestly, yeah, I can go ahead and start it up because this is going to be turned into a jug and flushing out any other things that's in this line already. So yeah, let me run a line from there to there. We're going to hook this line up here. Not a big deal. See, I got it running right here, so it's kind of, it does very good. But I don't want to connect it yet because I want to flush the system out before I even start it, because I don't want to just straight out of the gate with rubber lines plug up an injector, which would be like kind of unfortunate, because then we'd have to take it apart and clean an injector and put it back together. But yeah, I got to route a wire, drill a couple holes, mount a couple things, positive, negative. I got to extend this fuel pump wire a little bit over to the command center, and I got to run the switch 12 volt. I got to verify my switch 12 volt, which I'm going to check out what's going on with that. And I think I'll be able to use the one, yeah, definitely use the one off the old coil, the HEI that was in here. I just got to verify it has the right voltage through the full range. Actually, I'll show you that here in just a second. So let me go find my multimeter. All right, so I did about maybe 10 minutes worth of work. I mounted the ECU over here on some nice rubber isolators that I had in the box. It's not the most premium spot for the wiring harness, but I didn't, before we get some zip ties and stuff and kind of, you know, get the heater hoses sorted, get some wiring harness sorted out, I'm testing for 12 volts right now on cranking. So I got the old coil wire, which is not the best, but you see my multimeter right there. It's at 12.5-ish, thereabouts. I got my fuel command center because I want to fill this up, but I also kind of want to flush this line out because we'll be using these lines. So we're going to use a mechanical pump to fill this until it gets over here into the can. And then after that, we're going to hook up some wires, and we're going to flush out the high pressure side over into this can, and then hook it up to the throttle body. And, oh, gee golly, then we'll start it up and check the timing. I'm excited. Let's crank this right quick. Let's see if it loses voltage on this. Well, one thing is, it's cranking really good. We charged the battery up earlier, but yeah, this starter pulls some amperage. You notice the huge voltage drop on the starting. Not really a massive deal, even though the starter, it's on a big block, and as you know, big blocks like to kill starters. So we'll probably do the starter eventually if it gives us any trouble or low voltage problems, but I don't have any fuel just yet, so I'll keep on cranking. I just don't want to smoke the starter and then ruin the surprise when we start this up here soon. So just like a Cessna, you don't want to do it much too long. I can smell fuel, so we're starting to get some vapor out of there. That's cool. That means this thing is filling up. So we'll just a few more times. We'll get this done so you guys don't have to sit here and listen to this engine crank. We'll do that for you. And I'm going to connect that wire to the switch 12 volt, connect a couple to the battery, run the thing over here to the fuel command center, and hook a few small items up. We don't have much. Positive, negative, switch 12 volt fuel pump. We already got our switch 12 volt. We got our battery. The wiring harness is already plugged in. The coolant temp sensor is good to go. The distributor is roughly where it needs to be. I got to mount the coil and make a coil wire because I mean, you know, the HEI didn't have a coil wire, but I got a box full of them over there, so I'll just make one. And we're good for this. Check complete. We know we got switch 12 volt that does not cut out during cranking. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So I got myself some wires. These are all loomed up with some electrical tape. I was actually using them for testing, but I'm actually gonna hook up to my fuel command center and then bridge it up on my battery and make sure that I'm flushing out the high pressure. Make sure we have enough fuel in the reservoir itself to make pressure and verify the pressure before I even hook it to the throttle body. I just, like I said, I don't want any unnecessary rubber hose trash or anything like that in this. And let me hook this up. So we got a positive over here. Let's see, one washer, two nuts, one washer. I want to make sure to hold it in a good condition. My hands aren't as nimble as they used to be. Weirdly enough, I think I could have gone with a smaller ring terminal on this wire, honestly. But it is still doing a good job. This is not the permanent thing. This right here is testing, so we got positive one side, negative on the other. You also don't want to over tighten these because it'll crack these isolation bushings and pull the lug up, and especially on the positive side, and short it against that. So you'll get a power on your fuel system, and it'll pop the fuse straight out the gate, or other things. But yeah, not too bad. Just these just need to be decently snug. I'll just these are 8mm, so I'll see if I got an 8mm in my pocket. My socket will get in the way because of this gauge, so I can't really use that. So I'll probably have to use my adjustable wrench. Weirdly enough, I didn't even bring a smaller wrench for this, but I don't need much. I mean, you know, this the video Bradley will be doing with this install is going to be absolutely phenomenal because it'll be permanent mounting of this too. But at least he won't have as much work to do on that other than running a return line to the tank and carrying on. So let's see if there's enough fuel in this to generate some pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and go negative, positive. I hear some fuel. I hear some fuel. Let's see here. How much did we get? Oh, yeah, there's some little debris down in there as well. Interesting. Oh, very cool. All right, so anyways, we should now I need to take this line that is flushed out, hook it up to the throttle body, make this permanent, at least for this particular fuel system, and we'll carry on with this adventure. We should be starting this up extremely soon. We already have the switch 12 volts ran over there. I got to plug it in. I'll share it with you, don't worry. And put some terminals on the battery. Goodness. It took suspiciously short amount of time. We're only, what, 4 hours into this whole thing. And the only thing that we don't physically have here is the throttle bracket. That's not bad. Anywho, let's get to it. I'm going to hook a couple things up. I'll show you what I do, and we'll roll this thing outside and start it up. So anywho, we got everything but the actual electronic fuel pump in the command center hooked up at this point. I am sitting in the car. Benjamin's out there with a camera, filling in for our camera guy today, getting some nice, lovely B-roll while I mess with this mount, which he is going to be showing you very shortly, because I love this. Let's see here. Be mindful of the paint. Don't hit the wall. So on these right here, I got to find like the perfect spot that's not here for this. Now, a lot of times in Camaros, people put it down in the center console. We could do that, but I don't want to ruin the material. I can clean glass. It's fine. So I cracked this nut loose right here, and maybe there we go. See? Anyways, I got the handheld plugged in. Now, this ain't the proper routing. It's just kind of in here because we're going to put everything up underneath the dash here later during the long version of this install. But that's just because I have to drill a hole. And the rest of the harness is going to come inside. And this is good for, you know, us, what we're doing right now, just showing you guys really a lot of the most basic steps. So I got this in. It's good and secure. Go ahead and pop this back in. See, it's like that. And just tighten it up. This gets a little bit of tension. I can undo this and telescope it in and out if needed. So I will make it short here. Get the top side top like that. I need to, this right here locks it down. So you can see it pulls the center in. It kind of pulls a vacuum against the windscreen. This has an adhesive on it. So you flip this up. You pull the plastic off. Make sure there's no contamination on there. Nice and crispy and clean and like gooey. So what I want to be doing is figuring out exactly where I want this and at what angle. I kind of want it up high. I think right kind kind of down in here. Yeah, that's not going to block too much view, and I don't think the 5.0 is going to give me a headache. But yeah, so right there, I'll get my microfiber. I'll just give it a little wipe down to get any residuals off. Of course, I drug my fingers across it like you do. Right about there. Kind of squeaky clean. So when I put this in position, right about where I want it here, I give it a good push, and then you got to kind of try to get your finger up underneath of it and push this lock into position. There we go. Now we're setting in, looking good. I'll go ahead and tighten up everything so it doesn't move around too much. And this, I mean, this thing is light, so big fan of that. If I want to telescope it up, I can. I can just undo this a little bit and bring it way up here. I like it down here. No different than where you put a really cool tachometer or something at. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, we're setting looking good. So that's going to be a great spot. And when we run this later, it's going to go this direction behind the dash and over to the main wiring harness where the ECU is. But just setting like this, let's see. I got the 12 volt hooked to the battery and ground hooked to the battery. Switch 12 volt. ECU is plugged in. Throttle body is plugged in. This is plugged in. I heard it cycle out there. Okay. We do got a Killshot. Let's see what we got here. Let's go to settings and about. All right. Yeah, we're looking good. Let's just go ahead and run the wizard. We'll do it in Emperor units. AFR, so yeah, that's a Killshot. Let's run this thing on stock, single wideband. Force TPS learn, yeah, we'll do that. This is magnetic, so we got magnetic. That's fine. They're 100-pound-an-hour injectors. This thing right here is a 454. That's a whole lot of motor. Yeah. Hot idle speed, 850. Yeah, well, that's good for now. And we'll save it. Do you want to save settings? Yes. Turn off the key. It's interesting. We didn't have to update anything because the firmware was working. So I guess when we picked this up in the warehouse earlier today, everything was matching. Because we don't have the fuel pump hooked up, we're trying to get more fuel into that. We're going to sit here and crank this for a second. You click don't show again. That way it doesn't go to the screen every time you key it on. Let's see, the IAC is open in its maximum parked position. The pulse width is 17, but there's no fuel in there. It's not really going to do anything because the pump isn't going to come on. Let's see, map is atmosphere. No TPS hooked up. Let's see if we get RPM. Very nice. It would take about a month to fill that thing up with that mechanical pump, but we're looking really good. The next thing we need to do is we need to roll this thing outside. Give you guys a little brief over all the stuff. Don't mind the wiring. We haven't tucked any wiring yet, but I want to leave it like kind of out there in case, in case I had to unhook something, in case I had to test anything or what have you not. So at this point, we'll go ahead and get it up and started. We'll get it running, and then in the next video series, we'll be tucking wires and making everything super pretty and tidy for this car that you guys are going to be seeing at car shows. We only got a few hours in this, and I haven't been extremely motivated through this. I've just been listening to the radio, talking on the camera, and just one step after another. We're 3 minutes away from starting it up, so let's push it outside so we don't irritate the fire detector in here and give it a good startup. Awesome. All right, we did a lot more cranking. We got some fuel in this canister over here for our surge tank. Now, we do have the fuel can out here because we're still flushing out the system as it goes, but we got to hook that up to the 3/8 line this car already has. Not a massive deal. We got to verify that it doesn't have a rollover valve in it, but That's going to be in that other video. We don't have the throttle linkage hooked up yet, but that's literally a 10-minute job to go to the warehouse to get the thing. I've still got to hook up this right here for the brake booster, and I'm going to hook the PCV up as well, but I'm going to replace this one because I take it out, it doesn't rattle anymore, and I didn't want to introduce a vacuum leak. If they're stuck in place, you'll have a really weird idle and oddball IAC value if these things will go bad, or if your check valve for your booster is bad. We're just going to replace both and make them nice and tidy. We're looking good. We got the coil over there mounted behind the distributor. Nothing crazy near it. We got some wires we need to tidy up and clean up over here. I'm going to put better battery terminals on and a different battery. And now my switch 12-volt wire just kind of ran over here. Only thing I really need to do is, I'm going to hook my fuel pump up, and we're going to roll it outside and start it and set the timing. So just really not too bad, huh? So we're outside now, and lovely neighborhood, sun is shining, giving me a sunburn, and we're out here with a car again. Now I got the handheld. I did dismount it from the dash. We fired it up right quick just for good fun, you know. Not really any Hollywood magic. We just was really excited. Now we're turning the camera on, but I got the handheld out here. I got the timing light hooked up. I need to zero the TPS. We got to fire it up and see how close we are on the timing. I'm suspecting it's pretty close, but we'll find out here real quick. So let me turn the key on, set some parameters. We'll fire it up. I'm expecting a little bit of fuel splash on this because it's a big motor, real choppy cam, so there's going to be a little bit of intake reversion. Not really a massive deal after we get the fuel totally dialed in. So yeah, just hold with me 1 second. Also, if you're putting this here, don't forget it and close the hood on it. They're kind of pricey. Woo. All right, let's see. Everything looking good. So on this, we hit that. We got a wizard, TPS auto set. Make sure throttle is closed. Yes, save. Go back. We're looking good. I want to start it up. I'm going to lock the timing at 15 and verify it on that. I have an advanced timing light, so I actually set it to the 15 degrees right here that I want to see. And it is a choppy cam, so it's hopefully it's still idled up because it's not up to temperature or anything. So we can do that. We'll start it up, verify the timing, and after that we'll just go back to the unlock. I'll try to make sure we get this on camera here, but let me put this down and get this started up. Should be okay. All right, we got it locked for 15. Seeing a little bit of fuel I was talking about. A lot of intake going on there. Yeah. All right, that's about right. Go back to unlock, save. Ignition advance is jumping around just about right. We're about 850. Check this out. You see this is hopping around because it's correcting our idle. It's such a fat cam in this thing that it's working real hard to do that. Our IAC is up a little bit. We've gone up a little bit.
I can't feel it. Yeah, right, that's perfect.
Yeah, there we go. Luckily our cameraman's correcting this because of the sun. But yeah, look at that. Like, oh, those exhaust fumes are kicking. We make hardly any map on this. It's got such a fat cam. Oh, I love this thing. Look at that. I mean, rowdy. Okay, so when we get to 160, I'll adjust the IAC a little bit more. You know, pocket the screwdriver. We're at 160. It's coming down. Well, it's back. Yeah. So what that was right there was that literally I adjusted the screws so much that it thought it was cruising, and the ignition advance jumped up to 30 something, which I lit it up really high. I just went in here to the wizard, and just set it back to 0. Even though it's running, yes, I want to exit. Even though it's running, where you're setting a TPS, you can do that, but you want to make sure when you have it off to make sure to zero it out again. This is just for adjusting it. Look, our IAC's looking good, temperature's looking good, making hardly any vacuum on this big old motor. I don't see any fuel leaks. We got 58 PSI. I got to tighten up that 9/16 bolt for the hold down on the distributor. I mean, we're looking good. I mean, look at that pulse width. That's pretty big, but it's not a lot. I can actually drop that down a little bit more if I wanted to, but I wanted to get it running. And yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. Woo! I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm sure the neighborhood can. All right, that's it. Next video you'll see is Bradley putting in a system. Let me turn this off. Oh, God, it's every dog in the neighborhood's barking right now. Sorry about that, neighborhood. But yeah, so the next video is Bradley's going to be putting the rest of the fuel system in, and man, this thing runs. This is run. You could drive this down the road if you didn't have a fuel can right here. So I can't wait to put it back on the dyno. It's already healthier. It's already, I mean, it's fatted idle, feeling good, sounding good. You know, we're going to put it on the dyno and kind of get the laptop on it and see how many horsepower it actually makes running good without that old carburetor on there. I hope this video helps. Thanks for hanging in there with me.